For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled, upright and godly lives in this present age, while we wait for the blessed hope, the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for himself a people that are his very own, eager to do what is good. Welcome to this awakened generation with your host, Mazino Abraham Egbuoku.
Praise God. Over the weekend, I had some time to watch some documentaries. I was watching a lot on the Israeli and Palestinian conflict that has been going on for ages. And it's so interesting how these battles over this small piece of land. I understand Jerusalem is just about 35 acres. 35 acres, that's not much now. By the time you walk from here to Onigbongo, go to Ikeja and back, you have reached 35 acres. How can that small piece of property be causing so much tension for millennia? It's been on for thousands of years. When God gave the children of Israel the promised land, one of the territories they did not immediately conquer was Jerusalem. The first person to conquer the whole of Jerusalem was David. It's an incredible situation. And that's one reason is because, I was watching and they said there's no oil there. There's no gold, there's no precious stone there. Sorry? There are no ports. There's nothing that will make somebody say, I'm looking for this territory. Because people fight because there's a port of entry here, this links to the seas, or maybe there's some gold or oil or some nothing. But there's something there. The fact that God says, this is my holy city. Anybody who doesn't believe in spiritual reality should think well. Because that is the highest value, whether man knows it or not. Something inside of the whole earth recognizes that they are not going to fight for where there's gold. They are not going to fight for where there's oil. They are fighting for where they believe God is. Something about man is looking for God. This can't have been going on for all these centuries. Not even centuries, millennia. So that by 1948, when the Jews took over that territory, and last year when the American president made it the capital, recognized it rather as the capital, incredible things are happening. 48 to last year made it exactly 50 years. I want you to be very observant. There's a clock that is ticking, centered around prophetic Jerusalem. From 1948, when it had been prophesied by Zechariah a long time ago that the Jews were going to return to their land, to that land. It seemed impossible. You have to understand it. By the First World War, there was nothing called Israel anywhere. They were scattered all over the world. By the First World War, they partitioned territories after it was over. And the British got that area. And they called it Palestine. And they divided it in sections. In fact, the Jews were once called the Palestinians. Yes. When you study the history, I was shocked as I was doing that this week. And the next war is going to come as a result of that. There's still going to be another war. The Church of Jesus Christ needs to always be positioned to try and discern, or to discern what is God's will. We've heard about the sons of Issachar in the old times. How that they knew the signs of the times. They knew what Israel ought to be doing. It's so important that at every stage we must ask God to speak through His servants, His prophets, and to reveal to us what should the church be doing at this moment now. What should you and I be doing? Because like Mordecai said to Esther, if you like, do not serve God now. Do not help Israel and live for a cause higher than you. Very soon you will be forgotten and obliterated, but the kingdom of God will still stand. Esther was queen. She was chosen by virtue of her beauty. But today we remember Esther because she allowed God to use her. Because in her generation, which is so many years ago, we are still talking about Esther because she lived for something higher than herself. What are you living for today? You are an accountant, you are a singer, you are a banker, you are a doctor, you are a teacher, you are a driver, whatever you are. I want you to remember that this time is going to be over. It's going to be over. I'm looking at Brother Shola here. I see all his white beard. I don't want to call, I'm always calling for him, so I found another man with white beard. And you were not like this 20 years ago. You were not like this. Bruno is saying, of course, because he also has white beards too. So, you were not like this 20 years. If somebody told you 20 years ago that this is what will happen, that you will, but one of my sons sent me a picture of themselves, video, working out. Man, if you see their body now. We used to play games before. I used to wrestle with them and so on, and I'm always beating them. This time around, I don't want to try. I don't want to try because I've heard about how some people were doing it, they just fell down and slumped. Because these young boys now, they are in the peak of their powers. And in the next 20 years, it will pass white beard though. It will pass white beard. In fact, when more is laughing, your own will be more than, you have reached white beard. You are going to go beyond white beard. At that time, we will check whether you still have teeth, whether they are real or they are not. Praise God. But life is a conveyor belt. It takes you from here and it pushes you to the other side. Just a few months before my father passed on, I picked him up from the airport and we got talking, and a mutual friend of a good friend of mine, whose father is a good friend of my father, called me. And I put the phone on speaker and he was like, how's your dad? And blah, blah, blah. He said, his dad is now in the village. Oh. My dad said, me to myself, I'm in the village myself. And so we all started laughing, all of us on the phone. And he made a statement. He said, you see, life is a conveyor belt. He did not know he was going to pass in the next few months. It's a conveyor belt. He said, greet your father for me. Oh. He's in a Abeokuta somewhere. They tell him, I myself, oh, we have gone to retire. We are waiting for the time. And as sure as the sun rises every day, your time is going to pass. We all have to ask ourselves what we are doing with our time. I remember watching a movie of Bill Bright. Is Bill Bright? The evangelist, the campus. Yeah. Oh, I cried and I cried. If you ever watched the movie of his burial when he passed on, oh goodness. It is the story of a man who just fought for God his whole life. He said, I'm going to live for something higher than myself. And he fought to bring the gospel to the universities in America. It was a lifelong battle. Himself and his team. Look at Billy Graham. How many uncountable people we may never know. I want to say to you that you must live for something higher than yourself. I watched how people were giving suicide notes from Gaza, from the Palestine side. And they would tell their mothers not to cry, that this cause they are going to go to their heaven and meet their virgins, and so on and so forth. The belief, in fact, right now, I listen to the Jewish people. They said if they ever even wanted to relinquish a portion, they can't anymore. Because the new generations that are coming up, they have been indoctrinated from birth to hate Jews. Have been sold so much lies and so much hatred that at 5-year-old, as soon as the child is able to talk, what do you want to do? I want to kill a Jew. I want them to die. So how do you reach out to that generation in the next 20 years? It's already happening. But then I see, watching all that, I kept thinking about the church. So what agenda is the church pursuing? Really? Something has happened to the church. And I could not help but think about Demas. The Bible talks about Demas in 2 Timothy chapter 4. From when Paul spoke in verse 6 downwards. He says, I have fought the good fight. He says, for now I am ready to be offered. You only have to understand this. I have to just remind you. You only have to understand this. For those of you who are younger, you have to really sit up. For those of you who are middle age, you still have an opportunity to ask yourself, where am I? What am I doing with my life? You're not going to be remembered because you are an executive in a company. Your executiveness is not going to take you to heaven and give you any eternal laurels. Your life is bigger than what you are presently doing on earth. Our light affliction is for a moment. It's working for us a far more exceeding weight of glory. Why we look not at the things that are seen. So I see that it says, for our life, for I am now ready to be offered. That time will come for all of us. For some it may be sudden, for some it may not be. But that time is coming. And God will have us to get to a place where this means a lot to us. We truly buy into these truths these present realities, these present truths. It has to be hammered inside of you. You are beyond yourself. You can't live for yourself. Your life by itself is too small. It's too small. You have to capture an agenda of God, something of God that you can run with. And that is the reason for the Church of Jesus Christ. You see, a lot of people think that the church is come here to come and just worship God every Sunday. No. This is just when we come to worship God every Sunday, and that these are like, can I say, a training ground, a place to just charge us up for the real work. The real work of the church is to do the work of the ministry. It's not for us to come every Sunday. And I'm saying this because of everyone. If you're listening to me today, and you find yourself here or in any church for that matter, and you do not understand that there is a vision, the assembly of ourselves together is not just to come and have a good high on Sunday. It's to come and be injected, infused, and charged up so that we can run with a vision for God, for the agenda of God, for the kingdom of God. We can fight like they fought. We can play our own role in this conflict that has outdated us and will continue to outlive us should Christ tarry. We must play our own role. I'm imagining the Bill Brights of this world, and I thought about it. I said, God, I'm just, with the benefit of hindsight and insight. And they came and they found out that gospel was not entering into the campuses as it should. He had the campus for Christ ministry. And there were thousands of them. Now there are thousands of past campus for Christ. They fought everything, fought government legislation, fought people who were resisting, fought demons, they prayed through until open doors came, and then they opened the first campus fellowship, and then the next one. And as they entered into the campuses, only 10 people would come, and then they will fast, and then they will pray until they will organize programs, they will sacrifice money, and then people will come in, they will evangelize, and then 100, then 1,000, and then like that, until it started expanding. 10 campuses, 100 campuses. Whoa! What do you think heaven is thinking? Then heaven sees 3 people. One is 1 talent man. And the 1 talent man is not doing anything. He's become like a Demas. If you were the devil, what would you do? Wouldn't you blow a wind from hell to ensure that the church remains passive? Beyond passive, wouldn't you blow a wind from hell to ensure that the church is diverted from their vision? And so that the church now even becomes like Demas, like the world. He says, Demas has forsaken me. For Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world. Wouldn't you blow a wind that will come upon a generation, and that generation will be so captured with what the world is captured with? We had a small fellowship yesterday, and we were challenging ourselves, and we were saying how that the church has actually lost its focus, and we need to remind ourselves of these things and wake ourselves up again. And we're somewhat in a place where we're under a cloud. I was sharing a vision I saw of 2 clouds, the vision of 2 clouds. And one cloud, it was raining, but the water was polluted water. And that water contaminated the people that were under that rain. And guess what? It was syncretic kind of rain. It was a rain that some elements of it was good, but a lot of the elements of it was bad. And it diverted a whole people, a whole generation. So a lot of people are born into an era of Christianity where you're under this rain. It's a rain where your pursuit is so mundane. The things you're pursuing, the things you're after, they're so temporal things. But yet there's another cloud, and that cloud is raining, and it's raining a pure rain. that is creating hunger, that is creating a thirst for God. Just like Enoch said, he says that God, took Enoch. So anyone who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. The first cloud is pursuing things, seeking things. The second cloud is seeking God. And so there was a move of the devil to push the church in different generations, push them to a generation of seeking things. You have to ask yourself, under which cloud am I in? Because there's a cloud that you come into and you just find yourself that you lose every passion, or you have very little passion to seek God Himself. You are comfortable with the status quo. In one of my books, I think God's Grace, True Grace, I opened up by writing what happened to the church, what's happened to Christianity. And there I talked about how that there was a time, and it is true, and there have been times, and it's not too long ago, when I was born again, about almost 30 years now, I still met the end of something. There was still some level of, you became a Christian and you knew that you were part of an agenda. At least when I was born again, I still remember those days. And anybody who can identify with me knows what I'm talking about. We didn't have internet at that time. If you remember that time, you got one message of Kenneth Hagin or one crusade of Benny Hinn. It circulated. Somehow, I got the VHS of it. I passed it to her. She passed it because there was no Christian TV as we know it now. It was those videos. And am I correct? How many know what I'm talking about? And we passed it around and I remember those days. We watched Benny Hinn. Oh, the glow, the Holy Ghost. You'll be having goose pimples. God, when can I operate like this? How many read, what do you call that book now by Catherine Kuhlman? What's the name? There was Daughter of Destiny. Then there was another one. And we saw Catherine Kuhlman. We saw, this was living human beings. Not because we also heard about Smith Wigglesworth just almost a century before. How that Smith Wigglesworth would just come and then he just look at you, just carry your goiter, pull it out. Goiter that is like this, pull it out. It would just disappear. We wanted this. We wanted this. Silver and gold. We were not so interested in silver and gold. We wanted this reality. What has happened? Something has happened. Something has happened. Because it's like, do you remember those days? I remember one day praying. And there's a brother who will bear me witness because we prayed together, Tony Shah. He used to be my PA in Jos. Some of you know him. I prayed from night. I can't remember, probably around 10. We must have prayed for 6 hours or 7 hours. We prayed because hunger. We were thirsty for power. We wanted the reality of God. Then I went to the service the next morning. I held the microphone. Fire. See fire that came. That day during the service, we used to use benches those days. Those days, of course, you people know. It was benches we were using. You couldn't sit on the chair. The chairs were on fire. I couldn't move my hands anyhow, because if I move my hand this way, everybody will fall down. If I move my hand this way, everybody will fall down. This is true. Those days in Jos, they used to call me the Nigerian Benny Hinn. It's true. Rosemary Tia. I remember how she got born again. She's watching probably because they watch from Jos. She looked at my eyes and she was seeing fire. Fire was burning. These were normal things. What has happened to me? I have to report myself, even though I think there is a factor of a cloud that we must get out of. What has happened? What has happened to the church? It was not a big deal. Maybe Ruben has sent me a message yesterday that he reminded me it's 22 years he's been married, and I was the one who conducted his wedding, and it was my first. He had to remind me that it was my first ever wedding that I conducted, which is true. I remember. But I remember baby going to cast out demons. He had just got born again, a period. I led him to the Lord. He's now a pastor in Ghana, pastoring so many people. Do you know? I remember how he went to cast out a demon. Demon casting was daily basis. And the demon grabbed his neck. I wanted to kill him. The spirits rather inside the person. Brethren had to come together and cast out those spirits. I remember going out on crusades with the brethren. I remember doing Olaiwala. You remember where she went and she cast out a blind demon spirit, and the blindness left the person and went and came to her eye and she couldn't see. We had to come there with the brethren. We had to cast out that spirit. We were doing exploits for God. Everybody was interested. It was a normal thing for the church to be awoken, because we knew that we were living for an agenda that was beyond. Something happened in the church. Dearly beloved, I want you to please open your eyes. I want you to follow me here. Something has happened. This is not the church of Jesus Christ. This is not the posture that the church was meant to have. Something has entered into the church and it has moved the church in a different direction. Now, the church is more interested in material, in how we're going to get more money, and we think that is by so doing that the gospel came into. I remember a crusade I went to. I may have I've talked about it. I have to, because I will talk about it till I die. Give us those times, oh God. Take us back, oh God. And I remember 25, the 23 or 25, we chartered bus. I remember the battle to even get a bus. We went to the University of Jos, asked them for a bus, and they gave us a luxurious bus. Last minute, some guy who belonged to another religion came and stepped in and said we can't get the bus. After approval, and we were now ready to go, and the bus was cancelled. We were going to a village where there was no light. It was the village of a brother in our church. I saw him in Warri the other time. Solomon Lobga from Nies in Panyam, Mangu local government. And we were excited. Everybody prayed up. Before we even got there, we had sent batches on. We would pray and fast and break yokes, and we were opening the skies, and we had networked with the pastors. These were village souls. They had nothing to give us. If at all we were bringing something to them, they had nothing. They didn't have money. They didn't have nothing. We were just interested in souls. People should come to the Lord. And we got there. Then I scattered the brethren. You lead this team. You lead this team in 5s, in 4s, in 6. And they were walking from mountain to mountain, going from village to village, just like Jesus did and his disciples. And every village they went to, they would preach the gospel. And as they were preaching, they were healing the sick. They were casting out demons. Deaf people were getting hearing. And then we finally came back. Everybody came back. See what happened when I went to this mountain, when I went here. It was incredible. Oh, something has happened to the church. Something has happened. We must recover ourselves. Something has happened.